the FNL Network talk show.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the FNL Network talk show. So we're going to have some fun today. I'm joined by three beauties, Eugenia, Diana, and Marianne. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. How are you, Sean?
Yeah, no complaints.
Just a little cold. We just got a Christmas tree, so really excited. Literally got delivered late, a minute late, because they literally just rang the bell like a minute before the show.
Oh,
Wow.
That's so funny. That's what I was going to ask. Okay, so you got a Christmas tree. Does anybody else decorate or do anything festive for the holidays around your home or have traditions?
Yeah, we actually decorated my tree today, which is funny because my family had the tree up with the lights, but the ornaments weren't done. And I was in Orlando last week with my family and we flew back to Jersey all together. And I was like, you saved the ornaments just for me to do. And my mom's like, no, I swear that was just like how it worked out. But we put up all the ornaments. And then as far as traditions go, I've mentioned this before on the show, I'm Italian. So Christmas Eve with the Feast of the Seven Fishes is huge in my family. We go to my cousin's house. We've been doing grab bags every year. So like everyone gets someone else and you have to buy gift cards for them. We do the saran wrap ball game, which I think I've explained on here before, but you just pretty much get a hunk of saran wrap and wrap prizes into them. And we have to try and unwrap it with oven mitts, which is usually a disaster, especially after some drinks. But
oh gosh, yeah. That sounds like fun.
It is a good time.
Oh man, I would laugh so hard.
You're invited.
Is it an Italian tradition, or is it just something that you guys invented, like your family? Because I never heard about it.
Yeah, so I think my cousin got the idea off Pinterest because it's relatively new. I think this might be like the 6th year we're doing it, but I think they saw it on Pinterest and we kind of just rolled with it because it's just so like entertaining to see everyone trying to struggle. And then like I have the really long nails, so on top of that, with the oven mitts, like forget about it.
Love it. Marianne, what about you? And you were talking about Maybelline, your pig. What are you doing for the holidays? Maybelline, I don't know. Hopefully not.
Oh, well, we put up a Christmas tree, and my husband used to put up a lot more decorations, but he doesn't as much now that his daughter has grown up a lot of bit. But I think it would be fun to put them back up. I love Christmas lights, but I do decorate my animals. I have these little like reindeer antlers I put on my horses, and we take pictures, and my donkeys, and I have a new baby donkey out here now. So we will have very interesting Christmas pictures this year for sure. So that's kind of like a yearly thing for us. I decorate the animals more than anything else.
I want you to send a picture to the group chat.
I will. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if Santa needs extra animals, they're there, right? Like,
yeah.
Your activity. I love it.
Oh,
yep.
Now, Eugenia, do you always do a tree? Did you do it before coming to the States, or, because it is more pagan than religious?
Yeah, in our culture, actually, Christmas is on the 6th of January. So when I moved to US, I definitely did a bad move because my birthday is on Christmas. So I was like, damn, I moved to the wrong country. I mean, I love seeing how happy people get, just like walking out now, walking around LA. I can see a lot of people decorate their houses and it's so whimsical. Like people put so much intention and so much effort into that. It's just endearing, in the world we live on. It's just so cute. And I think traditions are everything. They keep us together. And as Marianne said, my kids are much older now, so they're definitely like in different things. But we still get a Christmas tree. I have a stepson who celebrates Hanukkah. So I admire, I love that our schools teach about all kinds of religions. It's not just religions. It's definitely about family and, small little things matter a lot. Like my husband was so cute today. They make all these little wooden toys, and he's like, you have to have the wooden toy, you know, like it's our little thing, even though it's so overpriced in LA. It's insane. Like people make so much money on the Christmas business. He's like, it's ridiculous. You only have to pay cash for Christmas trees. They don't accept cards, and they have
taxes.
yes, yeah, I know. They have their own like cash machine. Like it's like next level. But, you know, I still appreciate it. And, you know, I try to give away as much as I can also, just being in LA, like in tips, because I know a lot of artists like, you know, working and like I'm trying to support that. We just supported kids who have nothing with like giving away toys. So these kind of traditions, just reflecting and thinking back about the year. And, you know, obviously so grateful. I can't imagine, you know, other people don't have enough that we do have. So it's always giving back about that. And small traditions, we usually travel on Christmas because it's apparently the best day to travel, because there is not a lot of people in the airport. And I can celebrate my birthday like somewhere else, maybe where it's not Christmas yet. So we do that. Kind of a smart thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's all about all these moments that you remember back. You know, when the kids grow up, we usually take pictures with the Christmas tree every time we buy it. And I look back at how tiny they were, and like it just goes so fast. So it's just fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely think if you're like sharing with family or like kids, I mean, you know, that's where everything comes alive, you know, for yourself. But personally, like, you know, I'll buy a poinsettia, I put out a couple decorations, but I don't do a lot because I think I kind of am suffering from like post-traumatic Santa syndrome, because on the weekend, I'm rented like a little ho 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 to dress up like Santa for parties. I put on my Santa voice. If you have take them out to the room now. And then I put on like all this white eye makeup. I forgot I had it on. I came into my doorman. He gave me packages. He probably thought I just did a drag show or something. And I'm like, oh. And people are like, oh, say ho ho ho. I'm like, you know, laughs all the time. You might be mentally ill. I mean, it's like, you know, I don't know, like when you think it through. So I'm either like Santa at a party or an elf, and then these people have like all these decorations and everything else, you know, and like to Marianne's point, it's extra embarrassing. Not only am I wearing a fat suit, a white wig, I'm gluing on a beard, but I was rented yesterday for pets to like sit by dogs and cats as they take their picture with fake Santa. So I'm like, this isn't a special little tier of its own, isn't it? When a dog can rent you for a couple hours to show up. So that was yesterday. But then today, there was like a little toddler and he's like, Santa. And he was like so lit up. It was like little Cindy Lou Who. And I'd never really seen that. And I was like, oh, I mean, made me want to abduct him and be like, you're mine now. No, he was a really kid. And it made me like really appreciate, you know, seeing everything through his lens. I was like, oh, that's really
Sean,
awesome.
how did it start? How did you start doing that? That's fascinating.
Well, you know, Bettina, who is an occasional host here as well, she was telling me like, oh, I do balloons for parties and face painting. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds silly. And she's like, yeah, I get over $100 an hour. And Santa can get like $300 an hour or whatever, like, because it's a big demand. Not necessarily me, because I don't look anything like Santa. I just throw on a lot of stuff. But, you know, the real bearded, older, you know, chubby men, they can make a killing. Oh, and this is funny. You don't want to stay too long in Santa Land because it stinks, because the children fart up a storm.
Really?
It's their first celebrity. It's Santa. And at a Christmas party, what are they feeding kids? Junk, like chicken fingers, French fries. So, you know, and then they're like, who's a little precious? I put them on my lap. I'm like, hi, little Susie. And then I'm like, did you just fart on Santa? And they're like, let it rip, because they're all nervous. And then they also go a little mentally ill. I'm like, what would you like for Christmas? What was that? Oh, okay. And then they're like, I'm like, bye now. You know?
Oh my God. I guess it depends on which city you do it at, right? Like, I'm sure LA is so jaded. It's so funny. I was driving with my daughter another night, and the whole Sunset, which is super busy traffic, was blocked by these like school buses, and we're like, what is happening? It's night. And there's a huge Santa party, like all the Santas that rented.
SantaCon.
Yeah.
Too. Yes, everything
Closed the
like Santa.
whole freaking road. I mean, like, who has the audacity? But apparently they're doing so well that like they're unstoppable. Especially
Look, we had it too. Exactly. Oh, and then this is another funny thing. Tell me what your thoughts about this are. I think, being Santa, like originally, like years ago, I don't know why, I was like, well, to include everybody, I'm just going to say happy holidays. But then clearly Santa, Jewish people aren't that excited about him. So I'll be basically like, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. So one of my bad Santas, I was at a Westin hotel, and a few people and I'd always be like, Merry Christmas, oh, Happy Holidays. And a few people would be like, Merry Christmas. Basically like, just say that one, and I'm just,
Yeah.
how is saying both bad? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
I feel like people just want to be mad about anything.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just live and let live. If it's not hurting anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and why does one have to be better? That's like, to me, it's so weird. Like, what if the family's next door is Jewish or whatever else, and I'm just like Santa? Right. So, I don't know.
Well, next life you'll be married to somebody from another religion, and that's your karma. That's what I say, you just learn through trying.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
And okay, so now this is my question. Today I might have had like a little change of heart, but I was thinking doing Santa, because who doesn't dress as Santa at the holidays for a couple $100 an hour, because I'm not a good person giving it away. Okay, so where I was going with this. What do we think about teaching children about like the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy? Like, are you setting them up to be disappointed later? Is it better? Like, there was an African-American lady who I worked with years ago, and I was like, oh, your kids wait for Santa. And she's like, why am I going to say a white man brings us gifts? They say, no, Jesus blessed us. I'm like, okay, I agree. I get it. I was like, that totally makes sense. Why would you want just a fat random white guy in your house? I mean, and then you have to pay him, but in cookies. I don't know. So what are your thoughts about all this stuff? Do it, don't do it, good, bad?
I don't have kids, so I feel like I'm not the best judge of character on this one. But I think when they're little, it's just adorable and it's fun, like you were explaining earlier, to see the magic in their eyes. I don't think it's really harmful. Yeah, when they find out, depending on how they find out, it might be disappointing. Like I remember I was in first grade. My mom loves to tell this story. And this girl, like for whatever reason, she was a brat. I think she was in the 4th grade and thought who she was. I had lost a tooth and they were like, oh, well, the tooth fairy is not real, right? And my mom just like acted quick and was like, well, do you think she gets any money at her house because she doesn't think the tooth fairy is real? No. And I was like, oh, so I really don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I also like the folklore of it all. I'm into horror, as I've mentioned plenty of times on the show. So like Krampus is fun for me too. Like I honestly think we should lean more into that, but that would terrify children. So maybe that's not the best idea. Again, not a parent. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with Santa. Yeah, right?
Love it.
Oh my God. Well, I can add on that, it's so funny. I don't think you have to have children. I honestly think everybody's overthinking if they're like, oh, like I think magical thinking is amazing. Me and my friend, we still do fairy parties. I mean, obviously it's a lay, you live in fantasy land, like it never ends, even though it's so cynical. But I think it's all about magical thinking. You have to believe in something magical. Doesn't matter what it is. And I teach my kids the same thing. Of course they know they're disillusioned. They've been in an entertainment business since they're babies and they love watching horror films like you do. They're like, oh my God, I know how it was filmed and like how they screamed and whatsoever, and there's fake blood. But there's some part of it which just makes you feel good, and like it makes your brain feel good when you read fairy tales, when you write fairy tales, when you're in your right brain, so to speak, because of course we can be illogical and like go from A to B, but how Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. And I totally believe that, all these holidays and the lights and all these like small magical things, they create the environment for you to be positive and like bring something special. And I think it's more than ever now important with everything that's happening. So I'm totally supporting no matter what it is, no matter what you have. I mean, obviously, don't take it to the next level, you just try to find a North Pole. But other than that, I think it's amazing.
All right, I like that take on it. What about you, Marianne?
So I think that it's about the experience for the kids. And as a kid, for me, it was like you guys said, it was magic. And my parents would be like, look, pointing up to the sky. And yeah, it was an airplane, but there was a red light and they said, that's Rudolph. And I'm like, oh. And I remember those feelings. And yes, I understand it's disappointing when we find out Santa's not real or other things are not real, but they were real to us, when we were growing up. And I think it's part of that Christmas or holiday magic. I think it's part of the magic of being a child, the magic of growing up, the magic of family and different traditions that you have. I remember when my mom finally told me Santa wasn't real, and she's like, well, Santa's more of a spirit, the spirit that lives in us. And I'm like, the spirit of what? Of Christmas, And I was a little sad, but I was okay. And I think the magic that you feel as a child and the anticipation, I mean, I remember leaving those cookies downstairs and that hot chocolate or milk and cookies and just like peeping around the corner. And my parents were like, no, go back upstairs. It's the whole experience is magical. And I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
You also brought up a good point, like about the experience, like growing up after you find out that it wasn't real, it kind of gives you a new admiration for your parents and all the hard work they put into everything. Like my parents still make a big deal of Christmas. I'm 30, my brother's 22. And when we get back from Christmas Eve, it's like, all right, go upstairs. You're not allowed to come down. And they're hard at work, making everything look nice. So it's just next level admiration for them.
Yeah, that's so special. Absolutely.
Well, isn't that why we all go to Disneyland, just to like live?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a second?
Yes.
There's something about it.
That's why I have a pass there.
Now, I do have a question that I thought about. Being Santa, often we teach kids don't talk and don't go to strangers. But all of a sudden, some guy is an old man with a big belly, and it's okay to sit on. Or it looks like, the post-apocalypse, like an oversized bunny is sitting there. And it's like, funny. To me, the kids were like, no, and you're crying, or the smart ones. It's the little dummies who could get abducted who are like, so I was like, I don't know. I think like a natural reflex of like, is like kind of good or okay. But anyhow, what are your thoughts about this? Like, it's weird how we say one thing and then like when somebody's in a costume, it's like, oh, just go to them. And then parents who like insist on the picture, even if the kid's having trauma. What do you all think? I don't know.
It's a tiny bit weird, and you would probably know better, right? It's like you kind of impersonated Santa in a way. I had a weird experience like with my daughter, and like I never sat on a Santa's lap or anything like that. That's super weird for me. Like,
like a lap dance from an old man.
Man,
for the press picture, and I was like, this is a bit weird, I definitely had like some PTSD from that because I never done that before. So, but I mean, it depends on Santa's intentions, I guess.
Is he on the naughty list? I don't know.
I also agreed with what you said about parents kind of forcing their kids to do it, even though they're experiencing trauma. Like when I'm a parent one day, I know that I'm never going to make my kid do something they're uncomfortable with. Not that my parents did, but like growing up, for instance, it's like, okay, you always hug and kiss your relatives goodbye. And it's like, if my kid doesn't want to hug someone and they'd prefer to wave, like, you can wave. It's not disrespectful. It's their comfort level. And I think we need to be more proactive about teaching kids to take autonomy of their own bodies. So in a way, it kind of relates with the whole sitting on Santa's lap thing.
Yes, I agree. I feel the exact same way on this one. Because actually a friend of mine, she's a photographer, and I went to visit her while she was doing these photos. This was about 3 weeks ago. And I did see parents that were forcing their kids, and they were just sobbing. And, I have a bonus daughter. I don't have a biological child of my own, and she is 15. But if I had a small child, I can't imagine that I would be okay just forcing that. Because they as a parent, the parent is where they should feel safe. So you would not want to put your child in a situation where they don't feel safe, even if that person's not going to hurt them. They may not know that. They may be scared. They may not be. But I did see a few young children that were just in tears and terrified, and they didn't want anything to do with the pictures, but the parents were very adamant about pushing them to do it.
Yep, that happens a lot. And one thing I've got to suggest, any parents listening, if you see a Santa with a big fake wig and a big fake beard, yes, it might be me, but the more important message is, do not pass your baby to him. He can't see. He has fake glasses on, hairs in his eyes, hairs in his mouth. You might find out if your baby has a soft spot. I'm just saying, do not just toss a baby to Santa.
Oh, man.
It is breathing, it is living. You may want to keep it the full 18 years and then send it off to college. That is my proactive sentiment as a Santa. Don't throw me your baby. That's all.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Good tip.
I never even thought of that.
Me neither.
I didn't until somebody's throwing a baby at me, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, Santa's not an expert at babysitting. Like, yeah.
Oh man, I love it. That's hilarious.
Potato baby.
Respect goes both ways, right? Between the Santa, the parents, the consent should go all the way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. I was thinking, because it gets dark so early now in New York. It's like, well, being in Jersey too, Diana,
Yeah.
like 4:00, 4:30, it's like dark, do you ladies do anything like to combat, like, I don't know, like any light deprivation or seasonal, blues or what have you, or does it not affect you with the daylight savings time or winter? Any reactions to it? Like, because I don't really like it. I like it when it's light later myself.
I'm the same way. I did find though that when I moved to LA, because I'm just here for the holidays, I find that it's a little bit less just because the weather is warmer. I think a lot of my seasonal depression when I did live east, and now noticing it now, it's just that you can't really do anything outside. Like, I love to go for walks, but it is much too cold for me here, even though it's not as cold to people who live here. Like, I'm not going to go out for a walk. I don't like getting bundled up. I'm stiff. It's not fashionable. Like, I hate it. So I think moving to LA was amazing for my seasonal depression. I still hate it when it's dark out. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like when the clock changes, it adds an extra level of anxiety to get everything I have to do done before the sun sets. And then I find myself making excuses. I'm like, oh, I have to go to the store tonight, but like, it's dark out, so we'll just do it tomorrow. But yeah, moving really helped, but I know not everyone just has money to spend and like can up and leave their lives. So I hear people use like sun lamps. I don't have any experience with that. I don't know if any of you guys do.
No.
Fake bed. I used to do like the tanning beds because I'm a Guido. I feel like I went like during the pandemic for like a facial, and I thought I had freckles, and the woman's like, sun damage. I'm like, okay, we're done with the tanning beds. Take care of his skin, clearly.
Yeah. That's right. I'm with you, Diana. I agree. I like to be outside. I'm a very outdoorsy person. I have so many animals, farm work, so I'm always having to go outside and take care of them. So, the time change, and with it being darker earlier, I don't like it. I don't use any sun lamps or anything like that. Obviously, I don't tan, if you can't tell.
Really?
But, I just think that I'm happier. I'm a lot happier in the spring and summer when I have more time to be outside, because this time it's, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. I would normally be outside even now. still doing something, still, riding my horses or working outside or running or walking, but I can't do any of that. The best way for me to combat any type of seasonal depression, which I think a lot of people do struggle with that from time to time, is doing things that I love to do. And for me, that's self-care, relaxing at home, cooking, spending time with my animals, even if it's dark outside. I just try to take in as much of that as I can. And that does help.
I like that.
Well, it's funny. For me, it's like both ways. Actually coming from like Siberia and Russia, it was always so dark for like 6 months. And I like had a mood board of, okay, I'm going to live in a sunny place, even though we didn't have money. I finished up in LA. And I was so happy when I finished up here. It definitely, chances you're like energetic, state for sure, like running around and being proactive. But I love both things. I love reading so much. I'm such an introvert. So I think a lot of times when it's sunny, I'm always doing projects, picking up calls. But when it's dark, I can like hide in my cave and read my books, write my poetry, and focus on inner self. And, it's cozy. Like Diana said, when you live in LA, it's kind of one season. So it adds a little bit, some kind of diversity to the weather here. And yeah, I mean, I do agree that the time change really messes your brain, I think, a lot, because I was in London for time change and it changes there. And then it changed in Los Angeles. So it was like, my body was just like, what is happening? It does affect. I think we're definitely animals of our environment. I don't know about how you guys, but I want to ask you, like, how do you get affected by full moon? Because I get freaking affected like a wolf. Like expert, and she's like, when people come when it's full moon and acupuncture, they're more sensitive just because the moon really affects us. So I am very in tune with nature, and I do see the effects of it, like how they affect you. I try to be conscious about it and adjust to the nature of it, not use like any kind of electricity. I actually don't like electricity and any kind of artificial things, but just adjust the body to the natural rhythm of the earth and whatever is happening around. So I wonder if the moon affects you guys.
Yeah, I am a full out crazy biatch when there's a full moon. Like, I notice my anxiety is terrible. I can't get to sleep. And then like, I'll just look at the moon phases on the phone and I'm like, oh, that checks out. Like, gotta apologize to whomever and blame it on the moon now.
Hey, that's a reason. Hey, it's just the moon's fault. I do struggle with the sleeping with the full moon.
Affected by the moon? No. That might be next level.
To me, I think our bodies are like, mainly water, right?
Yeah.
And so, the moon controls. So it makes sense that it does have an effect, because they do say, like, during a full moon, more visits to the ER, and energy does tend to be a little bit wackier. Not always necessarily with a full moon, but more so if anybody follows it, the whole Mercury in retrograde thing.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to not believe it or whatever. And there's like this woman who's like, okay, I can clear energy from Mercury in retrograde. And I think she does a good job, but she was offering a session, something like $60 or whatever, or 30, I don't even know. But anyhow, during the pandemic. And I'm like, well, I don't need to do this. I'm sitting at home. Like, what's going to happen? Like, whatever. So I didn't do it. So many things went wrong. Like, I didn't get a check I was supposed to get, appointments fell through, like to the point where like I reached out and it's like, oh, is it too late to do Mercury in retrograde? I was like, so, like that I really see for myself, or even too, like just energy in general, because I'm pretty sensitive and like, can tell like if things tend to like not go my way in a very certain direction, like it's just like one no after another, and I just feel like everything's closed down, I pretty much know to go home and give up, because it just won't change. Like there's something energetically that's not clicking for that day. It doesn't mean the next day it might be totally different, but I know whenever I'm like, oh, this is silly, it's superstitious, push through, go to your next appointment, but it would still continuing like the same pattern of like stuff just being wrong. So now like if I feel that sense, I'm like, all right, we're going home, I'm gonna have a glass of wine and enjoy some telly.
Yeah.
But then you got to be careful because Mercury retrograde deals a lot with electronics and technology failing.
Yep.
So, like, God forbid your TV breaks down or something. That would just be the cherry on top.
Yes.
Oh man.
What about you, Marianne or Eugenia? Do you follow like the whole Mercury and retrograde thing, or not so much?
Yeah.
I haven't, but it's interesting to me. It's something it's definitely worth researching more because I've heard so many people talk about it. And there has to be something to it. There's got to be.
Yeah, I think everything's like energy. Like, I mean, another thing I do, because I can be rented for parties, is tarot reading. So like I can read tarot cards. And, you know, sometimes it's like very interesting because here's one example. I remember I was at a tarot party and the woman who is like the agency who hired me was like, oh, read the client. I was like, okay. So the woman sits down and I'm like probably a lot younger and she was probably in her mid 50s. And I look and it's like, oh, it has something to do with like mom and pregnancy. And then she's just looking at me like I'm nuts. And I'm like, oh, it seems like family. You know, like there's some sort of dynamic or shift going on, but it looks like everything is going to work out in the end. Now, because I was younger and didn't know better, like now I normally would be like, does that resonate to you? Did you have any questions? What were you thinking about? But, you know, as like a 27-year-old, I'm like, yep, that's it. Next. So the woman, the agent who booked me on this called me the next day. It's like, you freaked out my client. I'm like, I freaked out your client. But I was totally wrong. She just gave me like, you know, a face like Santa smelling his little farts around him. I was like, what's going on? I don't get it. And it turned out her daughter had just had a miscarriage and it was upsetting for the whole family. But I thought the whole reading was like about family, pregnancy, issue resolved. And then, you know, but since I didn't know how to communicate properly and the woman didn't feel open to, but my sense to all that too is she shuffled the cards, she put her energy in the deck. I think a lot of it is energy, whether it be the moon or like a cycle or dates, etc. Like, yeah, what do you think about all that?
Absolutely. Oh my God, I love that you read tarot cards. I actually worked for like almost 10 years. I wanted to design tarot cards. I like love the whole idea because it's all about the hero journey. And they say you can't do your tarot cards unless you live through every card. And I think there's so much to it. There's so much psychology and, you know, I wish there were more psychologists who were taught how to do that because it's not just like a woo-woo thing. Like if you study, there's so much science behind it and like meaning of cards and so ancient and if you study the history. So it's amazing. And I think we're all intuitive. As you say, you know, we're all connected in some level. I think we just don't trust it. But if you do relax, like you can read other people and you can read energy and like there is no limit to that for sure. So, you know, it's amazing that you can do that. I love it.
Yeah, I find it very fun too. And like you said, to me, it is often like an ink blot test. It's like both what I'm seeing and what the other person is seeing into it. And then sometimes, like, you know, this one time, like, you know, that I used as the example, I thought I was wrong, but I just read what the card said, not what my intuition was saying. And it turned out it was like dead on, you know, but live and learn.
Back to the Mercury retrograde thing. Did you know that it's not the only planet? Like all our planets go retrograde, but the thing, yeah, it's really interesting because there's a different meaning behind each planet. It relates back to the gods, like what they rule. So when Mars is retrograde, it kind of deals more with your emotions. When Venus is retrograde, it deals with beauty and love. So they say never get your hair cut or make like a big drastic change during Venus retrograde. It's really interesting once you read into all that.
Well, yeah,
that's super interesting.
Are you a part-time witch?
I wish. That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, I know for like Mercury in retrograde usually is like something that like, you know, shifts. So it doesn't have to be negative. Like if things were really bad, then Mercury in retrograde could bring in like something new and positive or what have you. Clearly, you know, Venus in retrograde don't change your look. I just learned that. I didn't know that. But yeah, it's true. I guess everything, you know, everything is cycles like life, you know, the cycle of life. Hakuna Matata, my friends. What a beautiful phrase. So did anybody do anything fun this weekend?
I went into Philly with my best friend because I haven't seen her since the summer, and we just drank a lot of beer. We went to this one bar and they had 3 TVs up, and it was so fun because one of it was just like on the Bob Ross channel, and then one was like Unbreakable. Yeah, like we're all like drinking, and he's like painting his little happy trees, and I was like, this is a vibe. Another one had the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and then the one in the middle had Baywatch, and I was like, I love this bar. Like this is like prime Philadelphia spirit.
I love Philadelphia. You're in Philadelphia.
I'm like in Jersey, so it's like a 30-minute drive. Like so close.
Yeah. That sounds fun.
Yeah. They're crazy there. They're like, oh, my friend was telling me, listen to this. Her friend's little sister went viral on Twitter because someone screenshotted her dating profile and it said the dorkiest thing about me, and underneath it was like, I once ran over a kid.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and she went viral, and like someone put as the caption like, girls in Philadelphia be like, and I was like, oh my god. And it was my friend's friend's sister.
Wow.
Oh my god.
I traveled for work, and I was in Philly after they won the Super Bowl, and they still rioted. I'm like, why do you burn things down and riot when you win? Like, what would happen if you lost? Nuclear weapons? I have no idea. Like,
what was that, like 5-6 years ago? They're still celebrating. Like, I went to an Elton John concert in Philly, and he played Philadelphia Freedom, and the whole audience was like, EAGLES, Eagles. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, they're proud. Rocky, Adrian.
I don't get it.
Well, I signed for a racing car course, you guys. I'm really excited about it.
Fun.
Yeah, my friend, she just like left everything, started this like racetrack, and this course specifically for women. I'm really excited about that because there's not a lot of race car women drivers, and I want to learn new skills. So I think that's always like my thing. I don't know how about you, but I always try to do some like one at least skill new in the new year, like no matter what it is, and it has to be different.
I love that. I love that. I can't wait to see more about that. You're going to be awesome.
Maybe we'll see you like on the Daytona 500 or something.
They give you the vehicles? Like they trust you with the vehicles? What happens? Like, you know, what, and do you know what you're driving? Like
I think
Porsche, how fun.
No, I think you bring your own cars. They just have a track, you know, but I did race before, like street racing, and it was challenging enough because I thought it was a modeling job, and I showed up in high heels and they're like, we're racing cars tomorrow. And I'm like, but I got through it, and I'm like, okay. And it's great because it focuses you to be in the moment, and, you know, it has like its own skill level. And I think it's very interesting. Especially like you know, guys being like, you know, an artist, like it's good to have something that you can maybe like control, but also be out of control. And like, it's just an interesting thing to play with.
Would you be afraid of getting hurt though, if you're like taking corners or like great speeds?
I think it's like, if you're really in the moment, you kind of like are in every moment. You know what I mean? So you can't like do a TikTok and be on the racetrack unless it's attached. But that's what I think about the world. Like I was talking to my daughter, and everybody you look around is on the phones. They're like you're never present. And like I struggle, I'm guilty of that as well, you know, driving LA, like everybody's texting, driving, TikTok, Instagram, so many things. So I think that's why I wanted to sign for it, because, you know, I feel like they need to be their nature or race cars or rockets or something like that.
All right, Elon Musk, I love it. What would your rocket be, Eugenia? I don't think it'd be like the penis, like Elon or like Bezos. The penis rocket.
It's coming.
Really? Like to do to the moon. Like, did the moon consent? I don't think so. Maybe we need to simmer down with that penis rocket. That's what I'm saying. What do I know?
How about you guys? How about you, Sean? How about your weekends? And
okay, well, I started as Santa. Then I like yesterday it was a double header. It was Santa in the day, Elf by night. And then like kids are like, "What about your ears?" I'm like, "I had cosmetic surgery."
That's a good answer.
I'm scared the artist.
This should be pointy because I'm an elf, and I'm like, no, I hadn't changed. I was embarrassed. So that was yesterday. Then today I was just like Santa in the day, and my big evening. I'm gonna watch the finale to White Lotus. Has anyone been watching season 2 of White Lotus?
No, but I hear I should start.
I loved it. I mean, and it's like tons of sex, tons of male frontal nudity. What more do you need? It's perfect. It's all over. I'm like, dear gosh. I was like, Santa didn't order that candy cane. It's wild. So, I'm shy. Eugenia, have you been watching it?
No, my husband had. So
okay. Well, there's T as well. There's, T and D. We covered a few things in the show, but yeah.
Yeah.
But the acting's really good too, on a serious note. So I just think it's really good. And I love Jennifer Coolidge. I think she's fun. So.
Yeah. And Grimes, the artist, didn't she do like a plastic surgery to make her ears look like Elf?
No, I didn't know that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she did a plastic surgery to look like Elf. So talking about fantasy, there's no limits, I guess.
Yeah, you can go
Wow.
Elf or anti-elf, I guess, with your ears. Options.
Yeah. Elon Musk's ex-wife, to tie it all back in together.
Exactly. Damn your rocket.
Easy.
Well, speaking about ears, it made me think of something very funny. I thought years ago, I worked in educational theater at SeaWorld, and there was the movie Free Willy. And then so in the movie is the fin on top, like on a shark, it was floppy. And so, they said in the movie, well, Willie, the whale, is sad. And then they're like, oh. So then, people would come to SeaWorld. I was 17 doing a part-time job in the summer. And I was always kind of like a little wise ass. So they're like, oh, look at Shamu. I'm like, yeah. They're like, Shamu's sad. I'm like, how do you know Shamu's sad? They're like, well, look at the dorsal fin. I'm like, okay, well, the dorsal fin is made out of cartilage, like your nose. When you're sad, does your nose flop to the side of your face? No, he's not swimming in the ocean. Nothing's there keeping it upright. That's what happened. Any other questions, kid? Full circle.
Oh man, that's funny.
Could you imagine if our noses did that though? That would be
That'd be great. It'd be like Pinocchio, but to the side or something.
Right.
That'd be awesome. I like it. Oh, they're lying. Oh,
That would be great.
Yeah, but we as women could never do the it's fine. I'm fine. Because our nose would be
I'm fine.
Love it. All right. Any final thoughts, anyone? I think we just had fun.
Yeah, tons of fun.
Yeah.
2023, I'm really excited. Do you guys have any goals set up, or do you just roll in and see what happens? I'm just always curious how people cooperate end of the year.
I feel like it's the latter for me. I kind of try to put goals out there, but I feel like my goals are just always very consistent, just building up my brand and getting more hosting jobs and all that, and just finding stuff that lights me up. So I think I'm just going to stick to that and just let myself wander where I may. This year I got more into writing and doing film reviews and stuff. So I kind of having a basic goal in mind, but then just opening up doors and seeing where they lead you.
That's a great idea. I mean, I think that there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
You really want to do, because I think that the whole idea of a New Year's resolution, if you've been a fatty, eating for the last 10 years, one day is going to turn your life around. I don't think so. But if you're Lindsay Lohan, okay, you might get a beach house one day, but in the meantime, you might be blacking out. It's not going to change right after New Year's. I'd say, know where you are. Be like, am I a fatty? Do I have an addiction? Do I need to read more? Who knows? Start small and just build your way into it. Because if you're already far gone, if you're on my 600-pound life, you're on my 600-pound life. It ain't changing the next day. It ain't. Just saying.
That's right.
Everybody give up. I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
I love that.
What are your goals? I want to know. You're going to be a race car driver in addition to everything else. And there we go.
Oh, are you guys, sorry, my dog was barking through the whole thing, so I didn't even hear the question.
Oh, no. What are some of your goals for next year?
Oh, well, I want to write a poetry book. I don't know how I came up with this idea, but I'm dying to do that. I always loved poetry as a child. My dad was into poetry and I read so much of it, but I never thought I could like, oh my God, this is like an idea because English is not my first language. So this year I was like, okay, calm down. And I feel like it takes a lot of heart to do that because it does have to come from a very touching, like every poetry I read is so deep and profound. And I think I'm at the place of my life where I can write something as a reflection. So I'm very excited about that.
That's super exciting.
Really cool.
I like
I
it.
love that.
Any said plans for you, Marianne, for next year?
So just keep, I do rescue animals, so mainly horses. So just keep the most recent rescue that Eugenia and I have talked about. His name's Teddy. Keep helping him to gain weight. He's looking really good. And we have another property that's near the beach in North Carolina, near Wilmington. So the goal also for next year is to continue getting that kind of prepared. It's going to be like a vacation / second home. Just kind of work on that, get it fenced in so I can take Teddy with me down there in the horse trailer and ride with my family and stuff. But I think those are the immediate goals for me.
Aw, I like it. And then, another goal, I'm going to put it out right now. SeanPBennett.com. If you're rich, you're single, and you want to date somebody who plays Santa, reach out. It's not too late. You can sit on my lap. It's all right. I will allow you to find my candy cane. It's okay. It's the season of giving. I would like to give. So feel free to look into it. Feel free to reach out. I haven't touched your Santa lately. Have you really touched anyone? That's all I gotta say. That's my closing argument.
That's poetry.
God bless.
Pure poetry.
You knocked my hat off. You knocked off my hat.
I love it. 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 And I love you, ladies. Thank you so much, Marianne and Linda and Eugenia. You all rock. And thank you for whoever stayed through all of our little prattle. We appreciate you. And have a great day. Happy holidays, everybody.